Comments to NBC News about the case in a story that aired on Tuesday, July 28th, today. The sheriff said, quote, "We have so much DNA to sort through. We have so much in terms of video evidence to look at." He also said, quote, "I'm still positive that we're going to resolve this case."
We have so much DNA to sort through. We have so much in terms of video evidence to look at. That was Pima County Sheriff Chris Nanos speaking 6 months into the disappearance of Nancy Guthrie. 6 months. Imagine a room filled with 500 hours of darkness.
It is so hard to fathom that 6 months after an 84-year-old woman is taken from her home, not in a rural area, not in a place outside of where law enforcement is located, but in a metropolitan area, how is it that someone can break into someone's house in the middle of the night, take an 84-year-old woman, and still 6 months later, it seems like we don't have any answers. It has specifically been 25 weeks since Nancy Guthrie was taken from her home.
That is exactly how long an 84-year-old woman has been missing, taken from her home in the middle of the night by a masked figure whose image is seared into the public consciousness. A grainy still frame of a man with a flashlight clenched between his teeth like a predator navigating a dark forest.
People responsible for taking her mom mean. It has been nearly 6 months since authorities say a masked man took her 84-year-old mom, Nancy, in the middle of the night. And it has been weeks since there has been a major update in the investigation. Potentially until now. The Pima County Sheriff just made some very interesting remarks on where this case stands. Could authorities be closing in on the answer to the question that has hung over the Guthrie?
That image is not just evidence, it is an indictment of stalled momentum. Before we go deeper into what the documents actually show, make sure you're subscribed to Trial Theory Unsealed. Because we don't just cover the story, we follow the evidence. The official statement from law enforcement is that they are methodically processing a mountain of data. It sounds thorough. It sounds procedural. But let's translate that from bureaucratic assurance into plain English. After 25 weeks, the core public update is that they possess a vast quantity of DNA and video footage that they are still sifting through. It is a statement designed to convey diligence, but it lands as a confession of paralysis. The gap between what was promised and what is happening is now measured not in days, but in calendar milestones. The victim's daughter, Savannah Guthrie, broke a 5-month silence on July 27th with a video that instantly became a primary document in this case. She stared into the camera and said,
"On today with a very specific message. It has been months since our mom was taken from us. Our family is in agony. We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed. We have done our part, and we will never stop looking for her. We will always ache for her and feel that hole in our hearts. The world can be a cruel and unforgiving place, and I know that you have tried to do things the right way. So I'm asking you, begging you, to do the right thing now. Make the right choice. Help us find her. Tell us where to look for her. I truly believe it is never too late to do the right thing. Help us bring this situation to an end. For all of us, no matter where we've been and what we've done, I believe there is always a way home.
"We are in a nightmare that will not end. Nothing about our situation has changed." That sentence is a wrecking ball against the wall of official optimism. She didn't just express grief, she reset the narrative. The family has done its part. She said that specifically. We have done our part. That phrasing is a loaded gun in a legal context.
There was a lot of interesting things in that message, Chris. One of the things that struck me right off the bat is one of the first lines of the message that said, "We've done our part." What could that possibly mean? I mean, to me, that can mean that there's been some kind of exchange possibly. What other part is the family of the abducted? What other role do they play except to pay?
What do you make of like the timing of it too? I mean, she has not posted she's done a couple interviews. She did one with Hoda. And then there's been, a couple moments where she's made mention of what's happened. But as far as, we saw a couple of these, very personal messages she put on Instagram at the beginning of this back in February, and she hasn't done it for months. What do you make of the fact that 5 months after the last time she posted something like this, here she is again? Like, does that tell you that there is that type of development, or maybe she's being coached by the FBI?
Implying a silent history of compliance or covert communication the public is not privy to.
Like maybe something you dealt with in Chicago in your career, for a big police department. Like, what does that coaching actually look like if she's getting advice from the FBI on what to say in these letters that she's putting up on social media?
Thus, nothing has changed. is the moral refrain that now defines this investigation. Nothing has changed. The case file grew heavier, but the needle didn't move. Nothing has changed. The FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit has likely parsed every syllable of Savannah's statement because this wasn't just a cry of pain, it was a tactical broadcast. She told the captors they tried to do things the right way, begging them to make the right choice. Now, this implies a distinction between a primary aggressor and a secondary actor, perhaps a custodian of a secret rather than a hostage taker seeking money. It dismantles the clean narrative of a simple kidnapping plot.
Well, so if this is in fact was a kidnapping for ransom, you had to bring the person you kidnapped somewhere. My theory on this, or my thought on this, a possibility is this plea is going out to the person who possibly wrote note number two, or possibly was supposed to be the caregiver until this ransom was paid. You see what I mean there?
Yeah.
Like, this is somebody who maybe was supposed to be taking care of this person, and obviously she died. Well, I believe she died. And maybe this is their appeal to this person, saying, listen, you've been trying to do the right thing with the second note, apologizing, whatever. I think nobody's ever tried to do the right thing when you kidnap an 84-year-old woman. That's ridiculous. But I'm thinking
the cognitive dissonance is staggering. Federal resources have been deployed. The director of the FBI has been briefed, and yet the official stance on the alleged ransom notes, demanding payment in USD, a linguistic tell pointing toward a non-domestic actor, is a bureaucratic shrug. Reuters reports the FBI believes they are not authentic. NBC reports sources say they could be real.
First, Reuters, though, did publish a report saying that FBI sources told them that they do not believe the letters are authentic. NBC, though, in their reporting has said that they have sources that claim that it is possible that those letters are real. Again, the FBI...
The left hand has no idea what the right hand has signed off on. This brings us to the irony explosion. The note demanded millions. The note set a deadline. The deadline passed. And then silence.
She will be released unharmed. We will be holding her for a maximum of 7 days. And it is interesting that in reporting that note, she says that the ransom amount, which had been reported as they wanted it in cryptocurrency, but they also wanted it in US dollars. They made it very specific. And that opens the door, at least to me, that we're talking about potentially something in Mexico, because that is just about an hour away from Tucson, where Nancy Guthrie lived.
Yeah, I mean, so here's my problem with the whole ransom thing. I've never worked a kidnapping, and I've worked a few of them, where a letter wasn't left or instant communication was not left for the family with specific instructions. This is hours and hours later, days later, when the letter, or a day later when the letter came in, right?
Right.
That's a long time for a kidnapper not to communicate with family. You know, to me, I've never seen one that wasn't left on. I never saw a kidnapping where there was never a note left on scene or immediate communication with the family or whoever they're trying to get their ransom from. And I've never seen one where there wasn't instant proof of life. So it could be Mexico. I mean, Mexico, like you said, is only an hour away, but I believe Nancy died pretty quick after the incident, or maybe even during it. That's a long way to ride down across the border with a body in your car.
I mean, she was someone who she was, apparently very sharp mentally from what the family has said, but she had health issues. Like, she couldn't walk 50 yards, I think it was, like, on her.
A retired detective commander with decades of homicide experience pointed out the absurdity of this radio silence by asking a question that reframes the entire story as a geopolitical thriller. If a kidnapper doesn't communicate instantly with a family for proof of life, are we actually staring at a state-sponsored intelligence gap instead of a criminal abduction?
Am I looking too far into it, kind of into the weeds of like word choice here? Or like when you say resolve in law enforcement, especially someone in the situation like Chris Nanos is, what does that mean to you?
Well, I've never used that word. I use cleared. We're going to clear the case. We're going to lock somebody up or whatever. Resolve the case. I mean, at this point, are we thinking? Here's one thing. I'm going to just hit one point. You said there's all this DNA and all this video. It's been 6 months. It's been 6 months, and well, I don't know that they have anything back, but they haven't released anything out to the public. And everything we sit here and talk about is all speculation because we don't know anything because we haven't seen the case file. But in 6 months, you should have something. If you have all this DNA evidence, you should have something. Now, I agreed you got to eliminate familial DNA and all that stuff, but something should be happening within 6 months. And resolve? What does that mean?
The response from law enforcement is that they are positive they will resolve the case, not clear it, not solve it, resolve it. That is a term of art used when a case reaches a terminal state, not necessarily a judicial one.
What I got out of that note yesterday was a lot of, I don't think Nancy or Savannah even cares anymore if anybody's arrested. She just wants to bring her mom home.
Right. We'll talk a little bit more about the alleged ransom notes that were sent to media outlets. We're learning a little bit more about what was in those, with some reporting that's been happening in the last couple of days. When it comes to coaching, because we'll hear, people will say, oh, Savannah is being coached in these notes, like whether it's the FBI, whether it's even a situation like maybe something you dealt with in Chicago in your career, for a big police department. Like, what does that coaching actually look like if she's getting advice from the FBI on what to say in these letters that she's putting up on social media?
You got all kind of analysts working on the content of both letters. The letters that they said may be legit, or the ones that the family believed that were legit, like letters 1 and 2. We also have people saying that none of these letters aren't legit at all, that they're not from the kidnappers or from anybody else. But you can't just dismiss them. You have to look at every lead. And certainly those letters have to be looked at.
This is not hair splitting. It is a window into a reality where the expectation of an arrest has been downgraded to a search for remains. The hard evidence of the bite light on the porch tells a story of sweat, saliva, and transfer DNA. A person does not hold a flashlight in their mouth for 45 minutes in a high-stress environment without leaving behind a genetic fingerprint.
Right?
Yeah.
He's got a flashlight in his mouth. Now, I've used bite lights. They're bite lights, so you put them in your mouth. I use them. You're going to have saliva on that. You're going to have saliva on the Ring doorbell. You're going to have saliva on the foliage you pick up. There's going to be DNA transfer there, a lot of it. And even if you're wearing gloves, it doesn't stop you from putting that on the glove and then transferring it to something else. We believe that possibly, and we don't know this is all speculation, they were in that house for 45 minutes based on the video from the Nest camera, Ring camera, whichever it was. There's no way you're in a house for 45 minutes unless you're in a spacesuit where you're not leaving some trace DNA in there. You're in a high stress situation. There's going to be sweat. You may have to use the bathroom. You may touch a counter. You know what I mean? So if it was processed properly, there could be quite a bit of DNA. You've already gotten samples from the family to eliminate family members or to eliminate profiles found in the house. Okay. It's the oddball profile that you're looking for. But now think about this. Who comes in the house? Are there cleaning ladies that come in the house? Are there gardeners that are on the property? Are there someone that takes care of the pool? All of that has to be considered as well. So 6 months of going through DNA, it seems like a real long time. With all the work that has to be done, it not necessarily is, but 6 months.
That the FBI has not yet triangulated a match, or has matched it and failed to act, pushes us toward an uncomfortable edge.
Listen, I don't know how all that tracing works, but I know it gets traced. I know if I send an email, someone's going to find out where I sent the email from. Now, I know that there's ways to bounce it to different spots so you can't trace it directly, but this is the FBI. This is one of the best law enforcement agencies in the world with all the technology and all the funding. I can't, for the life of me, figure out how they don't know where these things were sent from. It's stunning to me. Now, hopefully they do, and they're not telling us, which is another hope that I have, is that they have a lot of information that they're just not releasing, and they don't have to release it. But I just worry that maybe they don't have as much as I hope they do. Because I can't figure out why you wouldn't know where the Bitcoin, and they put some money into the Bitcoin to see if there was any movement on that. Nothing happened. They did pay something to that Bitcoin, if you remember, small amount of money to see if there was any action on it. And there's never been any movement on that Bitcoin wallet.
No. And, it's just one of those things, like, as we're kind of reflecting back, coming up on 6 months of searching, it's like just this overall question of like, how do you take someone from their home in the middle of the night, someone who's related to a public person, in a case where there's so many resources and we still just don't seem to have any answers. Like, at the same time, there are a lot of cases of people who have gone missing who don't have the last name of Guthrie, who don't have the profile like this. And I guess, and it's hard to kind of articulate each one because this is such a unique case. But I mean, like, how often do you have missing persons cases where someone may even be abducted and you just never really find out where they are?
It happens.
Nothing has changed. That's the gravity that anchors the unanswered question. Look at the publicly available aerial coverage of the Tucson residence and the proximity of the border infrastructure. The logistical demands of extracting a person from that specific metropolitan grid in the middle of the night required a vehicle, a driver, and a destination. It required logistical competence that sits at odds with the chaotic nature of a random home invasion. Did the U.S. Attorney's Office or the Pima County Sheriff's Office seek emergency records from the smartwatch found on the bedroom floor? And if so, why does the digital exhaust of that device not appear in any public probable cause affidavit? That is the question I want you to answer in the comments below. If you want to keep pressure on this case, like, share, and subscribe to Trial Theory Unsealed, and turn on notifications so we can expose what happens when the official story meets the hard floor of evidence.